All right, this is gonna be a short one because like I don't have much to say about this, but like it needs to be fucking said, okay? I've said it before, I'll say it again. OU needs to stop fucking banning shit. Oh my god, what is up with all the bans? It started in Gen 8. Like I've heard people say it started in Gen 9. It started in Gen 8, okay? It was not this bad before, but like okay. This is about the Gouging Fire ban. Gouging Fire suspect, but like zero fucking chance Gouging Fire gets suspected and doesn't get banned. Do you know how much people suck Gouging Fire's cock? Okay? There are people unironically arguing that Gouging Fire is uncounterable. No, it's fucking not. Whatever. Okay. I'll get to that, but like first of all, can we just talk about for a second how fucking hog wild OU's been going with the bans? It started in Gen 8, okay? It started in Gen 8 with the Dracovish ban, okay? And I'm not against the Dracovish ban on paper, okay? Dracovish probably needed to go, okay? But like, looking at it from a numbers perspective, okay? This is a base 100 attack, base 90 speed Pokemon that has an attack that is 180 power if and only if it outspeeds the opposing Pokemon. It did have Sand Rush, granted. But still, it was like, it's only really good situationally. And it's like pretty decently easy to counter if you just bring like a water absorber, because it really only does one thing effectively. Or anything that outspeeds it and just has a water resist. It probably needed to go. There was still too much it did. But that was where it all started with the Dracovish ban. Then we get the fucking Urshifu ban. Dracovish needed to go because like it genuinely was just very powerful. Urshifu was strong, okay? But here's the thing, okay? The only issue with Urshifu was Wicked Blow. And the only issue with Wicked Blow was that people couldn't be fucked to run a Dark Resist. Seriously. Take away Wicked Blow, there's no fucking shot Urshifu Dark gets banned. But like, it's just gonna click Wicked Blow or CC 90% of the time. So if you just run... if you just run a fairy type, you're good. It doesn't do anything. It has poison jab, but like so? Most fairy types are eating a base 80 power non-stab poison jab pretty easily, and this was pre-terastallization. So it's not like it could tear a poison to do actual damage with that move. You know, Clefable was very much still in the metagame at the time, and people were like, you have to run Clefable. No, you don't have to run Clefable. You have to run a fairy type. Or even not. Conkeldurr did a fine job if you could predict the Wicked Blow. And honestly, getting hit with a CC as Conkeldurr is not the end of the world. You just Mach Punch to revenge kill it. Oh, but it switches out. Yeah, that's the game, okay? At that point, we're getting into, like, hypotheticals. Okay, if they can predict, you can predict. Fuck off. So, like, Urshifu got banned because, like, it had things that could counter it that were pretty common, but people just didn't want to have to run them. And that was the turning point, okay? That was the point where the OU room decided that people not being forced to run counters to things that are powerful, maybe to the point of being oppressive, but only if the counters aren't run, is a ban-worthy offense. Okay? Because before that, it was like, no, this has to be like nigh uncounterable to the point where if you don't run like one or two specific Pokemon, you are putting yourself at a disadvantage. But once Urshifu got banned, but with Urshifu, that wasn't the situation. The situation was, this Poke was, yeah, you just like have to run a counter to it. And like, we don't want to force people to do that, which is fucking you know how a fucking metagame works? Oh my god. Yeah, and then Kyurem got banned because apparently Freeze Dry. Base 70 power Freeze Dry on a Pokemon that was NU in Gen 7 was apparently so oppressive on Kyurem that it made it ban-worthy in OU. Who fucking cares? And then, you know, other bullshit, like, you know, Chiyu got banned, but, like, Chiyu probably needed to go, I'm gonna be honest with you. Great Tusk got suspected, and fortunately, thank God, it did not get banned. Okay? Finally, they made one good decision and didn't ban Great Tusk. And it was done purely out of Landorus nostalgia. That's the only reason. I'm being serious here. The only reason the Great Tusk wasn't banned was because people were nostalgic for Landorus T. They were like, well, it just does what Landorus T does. So, if we didn't ban Landorus T, why should we ban this? That is why Great Tusk wasn't banned. Don't get me wrong, I'm here for it, okay? Do not, under any circumstances, think that I am saying we should ban Great Tusk. I am super glad Great Tusk is legal in OU. Keep it there. Don't do anything to it. Just leave it there. But, I'm just explaining, that is the reason. Like Chiyu got banned and it should have been. Qian Pao got banned and it should have been. And then they started banning other shit. They banned fucking Sleep. I wasn't playing for a while. They banned a bunch of other bullshit. Trying to remember. Nope, it's not coming back to me. I'll look it up later. But point is, now they're trying to ban Gouging Fire. Okay, and that gets us to the central topic of this video. Okay, so Gouging Fire. The paradox form of Entei, Dragon Fire type. It is being suspected, which means it's going to get banned in a week, okay? Let's not fucking delude ourselves. There's zero chance that this thing survives a fucking ban. There's zero chance that this thing comes out of the suspect without getting banned, okay? Zero fucking chance. Do you know how much people fucking suck this thing's cock? And there's always one thing, okay? There's one specific thing that every motherfucker will point to. They will say, it 2-hit KOs Dondozo. Look how strong. Okay. It 2-hit KOs Dondozo with Choice Band, Adamant, Max Attack in Sun after Terra Fire. I would fucking hope there is something that is able to 2-hit KO Dondozo not very effectively under some kind of fucking circumstances. Okay? Fucking hate Dondozo. Jesus. Okay. How is that an argument? And the thing is, it's not, okay? I'm not an idiot. I recognize that them saying it 2-hit KOs Dondozo is more meant to indicate the level of power that it's operating at. It's not an actual argument that the specific fact that it is able to OHKO this specific Pokemon is the problem. It's just pointing to something that is known as a very powerful fire resist, a very powerful physical fire resist that it can just punch through on raw power alone. Except, okay, first of all, I already said my issue, my first issue with that line of logic, which is, it needs both Sun, it needs Choice Band, and it needs Terra Fire. And also, I didn't mention this before, it's only doing that with a base 120 power fire move. It has a special base 120 power fire move, Raging Fury, I think it is, which is a fire-type pedal dance. It's 120 base power fire move. You have to use it. It's 120 base power fire move. You have to use it. If you use it once, you're committing to it for 2 to 3 turns, like pedal dance or outrage, and then you get confused afterwards. You can either use that, or you can use Flare Blitz. Both of these come with their own issues. Okay, Flare Blitz comes with recoil, and considering the amount of damage you're presumably dishing out with it, that's the argument, right? That you're dishing out insane damage with it. So if you actually are, then you're gonna take a shit ton of recoil. Yeah, it's only 33%, but against shit like Dondozo, where you're getting a full KO, that's a significant amount of your HP. And as a fire type that is required to run Choice Band, you can't run Boots. So you're going to be taking fucking rocks damage. There is an argument against that. I will get to it in a second. But presumably you're going to be taking rocks damage. So if you're also taking recoil damage, you can get 2, maybe 3 KOs tops. Which less if you take a single point of priority or just something outspeeds you or anything. Because that's the other thing, okay? People will say it's so bulky, nothing one-shots it, which, okay, I will grant that. Valid criticism. Genuinely. But, again, fire type that's not running Boots, okay? It's gonna be taking rocks damage. So when you've got Gliscor doing 75% to it with an EQ, that is an OHKO. Okay, it's and that's the next thing that I want to get into. Okay, it has 309 speed. people make the argument, like, it does all this damage, so it's unfair. But, like, the obvious counter to that would be like, well, it's not really that fast, so just, like, outspeed it and kill it. But you can't, because it's bulky. But the thing is, like, it's not that bulky. It's bulky enough to take a hit. Okay, you hit it with something super effective from, like, Blizzcore or something that's like, or Blizzcore or Landorus. Like, it could take, like, 1 or 2 hits, okay, while also dishing out insane damage. So, okay, it can deal a lot of damage, but like we said, it's not one-shotting Dondozo, it's 2-hit KOing it, which, by the way, that calc is still flawed. I've seen the actual numbers for that. That is a 50 to 58%, 50 to 58.9% damage range on Sun-boosted, Max Attack, Adamant, Protosynthesis, Choice Band, Terrafire, Raging Fury, or Flare Blitz on Gouging Fire against 248 HP, 252 defense. I think Bold is the plus defense one. Dondozo. However, while that might sound like a clean 2-hit KO, Dondozo usually runs leftovers. So, like, either you accept... So, like, either... Like, yeah, hazards are an issue. I will grant that. But Dondozo runs leftovers, and, like, if necessary, you could just slap Protect on there to make up for the hazard damage. With leftovers, it's going to take 50 to 58.9% and then heal 6.25% at the end of turn, and then, you know, that leaves it with only a 30% chance to that leaves it with, like, a little under a 30% chance to actually get 2-hit KO'd. And, like, all of this only lasts as long as Sun lasts. Okay, so this is one of the easiest Pokemon to stall out, because all you have to do is just wait for Sun to end, and then it's still strong, but it's not the monstrous level of power that everyone's complaining at. You just send in your counter and then you're good. But, okay, for the sake of argument, let's pretend let's throw everything I just said in the garbage. And let's pretend we live in a fantasy world where it actually is that monstrous level of power. Like, bulky resists are taking 1 hit from it, everything else is getting O-code. Okay? Now, obviously, that only applies, like I said, to Flare Blitz and Raging Fury. So, just by itself, that already means that Flash Fire Mons are just passively immune to that, and also double resists. Okay, so if you were to send in like a Ditto or another Gouging Fire, that would work. If you were to send in Volcanion, that would work. I'm trying to think of what the other double resist would be. Oh yeah, the big one that a lot of people are actually using is Walking Wake. Because Walking Wake is actually, it's a good Pokemon in general, and also it benefits from Sun. Now, there are people who are sitting here going, well, you just Terra to beat Walking Wake. If you Terra to beat Walking Wake, then you're not Terra Fire. And if you're not Terra Fire, then you're not doing the amount of damage that your entire argument is based on your ability to do. Okay? You can either do enough damage to 2-hit KO Dondozo, or Terra to beat Walking Wake. You cannot do both of those things. A bit of a side tangent, but it's still about Gouging Fire. This is another argument that people bring up a lot. It's like any argument they actually make, you can counter. Okay, if they say, "Well, it's this strong," you can say, "Well, you can do this and this and this and this and this to beat it." Or if you say like, "Oh, well, like all these," or if you try and say like, "Oh, well, these counters beat it." You know, you can beat it with Heatran. You can beat it with like you can beat it with Hippowdon. You can beat it with Pelipper. Then they'll be like, "Oh, well, those things don't work against the Dragon Dance set, or those things don't work against the bulky set." What are you even talking about now? We were talking about the choice band set here. If you're talking about the bulky set or the Dragon Dance set, none of your previous arguments apply. Okay? Yes. In theory, the fucking bulky set can beat like Pelipper and Great Tusk. Okay? But it cannot deal the massive amount of damage that you were saying was the main reason you wanted to ban it. The second you take away that damage, you just send in Slowbro, you send in Toxapex. Hell, you send in Slowbro, you send in Toxapex. What's it? Fucking. You send in Walking Wake. You send in fucking. You can beat it with Great Tusk still. That's like that. Play better. You send in fucking Dondozo. You send in Gliscor. You send in Landorus. You send in fucking Knackle. I have no doubt that Knackle could beat the bulky set. So like, they are doing a Gish Gallop, okay? They're like for every argument you come up with, they will counter that argument with some bullshit that negates their previous argument, but is technically a valid response to the specific thing that you just said. Like, yes, if I say that you can beat it with Pelipper, you can beat it with Heatran, you can beat it with Ceruledge, you can beat it with Ditto, you can beat it with a Powdon, you can beat it with Tyranitar, you can beat it with Gigalith, you can beat it with Politoed, you can beat it with Gouging Fire, you can beat it with Walking Wake, you can beat it with Toxapex, you can beat it with Slowbro, you can beat it with Great Tusk, you can beat it with Gliscor, you can beat it with Landorus. Like, if I say that, then they're going to say, oh, well, that only applies to the choice band set. You just have, but you don't know that it's the choice band set. You can't predict that. Yes, I can. I'm the skill issue. I'm better than you. I can predict that. Like deal with it. But like, their argument is, well, that's just the choice band set. The Dragon Dance set and the bulky set are entirely different, and they have different counters, which makes it impossible to effectively counter because you don't know what's coming. But like, your argument wasn't that has nothing to do with your argument as to why it should be banned. It's a defense of something that was a criticism of one specific set that you were claiming was overpowered, that being the choice band set. You bringing these other sets into the matter isn't relevant because those sets are not as good as the choice band set, which is the reason it's being discussed for a ban in the first place. Okay, if you bring up Dragon Dance or the fucking bulky set, you're distracting away from the issue. Like, you're pointing over there and being like, well, you know, maybe the choice band set has these issues, but like the Pokemon as a whole doesn't. It's like, yeah, but if you're not running the choice band set, then it's not like any other set is not ban worthy. By the way, this is also an argument for bringing back complex bans. Like, I'm being serious here. Like, I do not fucking understand why they can't just bring back complex bans. With all the fucking banning they're doing of like, they banned sleep for fuck's sake. Like, you're telling me sleep as a fucking mechanic as a whole is something that you are okay with banning, but a complex ban, no, that'd be too much. By the way, explanation of what a complex ban is. A complex ban is when you say both of these things are legal, but you can't use them together. So, for example, if they were to say you can run Gouging Fire and you can run Choice Band, but you can't run Choice Band on Gouging Fire, that would be a complex ban. And I don't understand why they wouldn't just do that. Like, I'm anti-ban generally, but like, I can acknowledge that certain things might help the metagame be a little bit more healthy and diverse. Like, yeah, it's still a strong Pokemon, okay? So, like, if you gotta do it, fine. If you gotta do something, though, like, I don't see why you need to ban the whole Pokemon, and you can't just complex ban the one set that's an actual problem. Okay, because, like, I've run the fucking Dragon Dance set, okay? It is nothing special. It's fine. It's serviceable. There's nothing wrong with the Dragon Dance set. It's just very clearly not ban-worthy. The only reason it's brought into these discussions is because one set is arguably ban-worthy. I don't think it's ban-worthy, but, you know, the argument is being made by people who are not me that it is ban-worthy. So it's arguably ban-worthy. And the only reason that these other sets are even being brought up is because people want to go, well, the fact that it even has sets other than the Choice Band set at all make it too oppressive. Which, like, if that's really your argument, then why don't you just... You're openly acknowledging the one set that's the problem. You're openly acknowledging that it's one set that's the problem, not that there is a problem with the Pokemon as a whole. So why don't you just ban that one set? That's something you have the ability to do. You used to do it all the time, so why don't you do it now? Instead of banning the entire fucking Pokemon, which no one is claiming is overpowered for any reason other than this one specific set. Anyway, the other thing that I said I would get back to was hazards, okay? Now, a large portion of my criticism of Gouging Fire, and the reason I think that it's not as big of a deal or difficult to deal with as people claim, is the fact that it is a fire type, which the main set that people are complaining about is Choice Band. I feel like I've fairly well established that. Choice Band Gouging Fire is the main set that people are complaining about, and specifically, it is Choice Band Gouging Fire Terra Fire. So, terrestrialization is not going to change its fire, is not going to remove the weaknesses that it has due to being a fire type. If it's running Choice Band, it is not running heavy-duty boots. Okay? So, for you laymen in the audience who don't understand what the hell I'm talking about, let me give a brief history of all the shit that was involved in that. Okay? So, there is a mechanic in competitive Pokemon, in Pokemon, called field hazards. There's a bunch of different ones. There's spikes, toxic spikes, sticky web, etc., etc., etc. The main one that is the main one that people mostly concern themselves with. Like, the other ones are relevant. You can't ignore those. But, like, the main one that's the biggest issue out of all of them is called Stealth Rocks. What do these do? Well, when you lay down Stealth Rocks, when your opponent switches their Pokemon, whatever Pokemon they send in will take 12.5% damage on switch-in. However, the unique thing about Stealth Rocks, as compared to all the other ones which don't do this, is that this percentage is affected by type effectiveness. Stealth Rocks is a rock-type move. So, normally when a Pokemon switches in, it will take 12.5% of its HP and damage. Not desirable, but not a huge deal. However, if a Pokemon is weak to rock-type moves, it will instead take 25%, and that's a much bigger issue. Due to rounding, that means you can only switch in a maximum of 4 times, because you can, if you give your Pokemon an odd, if you give your Pokemon an HP amount that is not evenly divisible by 4, the game will round down, and you'll end up with 1 HP left after switching in 4 times. But still, you're taking approximately 25% of your HP on switch-in if you are a Pokemon that is weak to rock-type moves. And Stealth Rocks is up. Stealth Rocks is arguably the single most common move in all of Pokemon. Like, in all competitive Pokemon. Like, it is so unbelievably ubiquitous. Like, if you were to play 100 games, I would bet money that at least 90 of those games you would run into, at least 85 of those games you might play against some noobs, that at least 85 out of 100 games you will run into a team that is running Stealth Rocks. They might not successfully get them up, but they're probably at least somewhere on there. Okay, Stealth Rocks is such a huge, unignorable issue. Now, in Generation 8, Game Freak introduced a new item called Heavy Duty Boots. The effect of Heavy Duty Boots is that a Pokemon that is holding a Heavy Duty Boots item will not take damage from field hazards. They will not be affected by any damage or effects that occur due to field hazards, such as stealth rocks. Now, normally, if you have a fire-type Pokemon like Gouging Fire, you would want to put heavy-duty boots on it in order to prevent it from taking 25% damage from stealth rocks. However, Pokemon can only hold one item at a time. And like we said, the main set that is an issue here is the Choice Band Gouging Fire set. Choice Band is an item that forces you to pick one move out of your 4 moves, and you can only use that move until you switch out. So, like, when you switch in, you can pick whatever move you want to use, but you are then locked to that move. You can only use that one move over and over again until you switch out and reset it. But in exchange for this, it gives you a 50% boost to the power of all your physical attacks, which is insane. It's a very strong item. It's meta, but that limitation of being locked to one move, it is enough of a drawback that it's not considered unfair. It's just a very strong item. None of that shit matters for what I'm about to say, because the only relevant part of this is that it is an item that Gouging Fire needs to run in order to have the set that people consider a problem, that being Choice Band Gouging Fire. Choice Band Gouging Fire is definitionally not running heavy-duty boots, because heavy-duty boots is an item that is not Choice Band. If you are running heavy-duty boots Gouging Fire, you are not running Choice Band Gouging Fire, and you can't do all of the things that people are complaining about. I ran heavy-duty boots Gouging Fire Dragon Dance with the Dragon Dance set. It was fine. It performed fine, but it wasn't anything to cry home about, you know? It was just a good Pokemon, but it wasn't... There was no argument that that was overpowered, okay? It was not even the star of the team it was on. And that was not even a good team in the first place, by the way. Like, that team fucking sucked. And Gouging Fire was not going to be the thing to save it. Like, there were better Pokemon on that team. I was running Gligar on that team, okay? And Gligar was outperforming Heavy Duty Boots Dragon Dance Gouging Fire. That may be partially me, but, like, you know, it clearly wasn't carrying. And I've run into, like, Heavy Duty Boots Gouging Fire before, and, like, yeah, it's strong, but, like, it's not unmanageable. The set that's a problem is the Choice Band set, and the Choice Band set is not running Heavy Duty Boots. Ergo, Gouging Fire will be taking 25% of its HP in damage when it switches in on Stealth Rocks, which it will most of the time, because if your opponent sees a Gouging Fire there, they are immediately going to try and set up Stealth Rocks. No one is arguing about the Heavy Duty Boots, okay? That wasn't an argument that anyone had. People's arguments are, oh, well, I'll just use hazard removal. So hazard removal is a set of moves that is able to remove field hazards from your side of the field. There are 4 of them. There used to only be 2, but they added 2 new ones this generation. No, they added 1 new one this generation, and then one of them... Or no, there's 5. Sorry, I forgot about Tidy Up. So, you can remove hazards by using the moves Tidy Up, Defog, Rapid Spin, Mortal Spin, or Court Change. I could get into, you know, the specific nuances of all of that later, but the TLDR here is that people's argument as to why Stealth Rock isn't, like, an oppressive issue that, like, keeps Gouging Fire down or is a relevant enough issue for it that it's not still ban-worthy, is because a hazard removal is pretty easy. In a fucking Goldengo metagame. That's right, I tricked you. This was a fucking Goldengo video the whole time. Fuck Goldengo, fuck everything it represents. I hate it, I don't know why it's banned. Everyone's been calling for its ban. OU Council, forget everything I said about not banning shit. Get this shit fucking out of my goddamn tier. Goldengo is a Pokemon that is a Steel Ghost type. It has a special move that deals 120 damage and reduces its special stat by 1 stat stage. It usually runs a Choice Scarf set, and none of that shit matters, because the only part of this that's relevant is it has the ability Good as Gold. What does Good as Gold do? Well, it negates all status moves that are used against it. By the way, did you know that Defog technically is a status move that is used against your opponent, not a move that's used on the field, because it decreases your opponent's evasion stat? What a fun thing! And because of that, well, Gholdengo isn't subject to status moves. It couldn't have its evasion stat dropped. So the only logical thing would be for Good as Gold to just negate the entire fucking move as a whole and prevent Defog from being able to remove field hazards at all as a steel ghost type that is already passively immune to both Rapid Spin and Mortal Spin. There are literally only 3 Pokemon in the game that can remove hazards in the face of Gholdengo. Tidy Up Mousehold, actually, they did get 4 because they gave Tidy Up to Chinchino. Tidy Up Mousehold or Tidy Up Chinchino, Court Change Cinderace, or Mold Breaker Halucha with Defog, because Mold Breaker allows it to ignore the Good as Gold ability. Mold Breaker Halucha's shit. Chinchino's shit. Cinderace's niche. And, Court Change is only relevant because of Gholdengo anyway. And Mousehold fell off harder than anyone this tier. Okay? Mousehold has been in a death spiral for a long-ass time. None of those Pokemon will be relevant without Gholdengo. The only reason they're relevant is because they can remove hazards in the face of Gholdengo. The point I'm making here, okay, is Gholdengo makes it extraordinarily hard to remove hazards. And people are like, oh, well, he's fallen off in usage. Nigga, he's still top 5. He's like the 4th most used Pokemon. Fallen off in usage because he was number 2 and now he's number 4? Are you serious? You can't rely on hazard removal. Now, the thing people will say is, well, I'm going to use Rapid Spin Torkoal, okay? I'm going to use Rapid Spin Torkoal with heavy-duty boots so it doesn't take damage from switching in on hazards, because Gholdengo doesn't want to switch in on Torkoal, because it could die to, Lava Plume. As a Steel type, it would be susceptible to Lava Plume. First of all, Terrestrialization exists, so just, Terra Ghost GG. That aside, though, predict. Like that is really what I have to say to that. Like, are you trying to claim that prediction is not a mechanic in the game? Also, Gholdengo is not the only thing that is capable of stopping Torkoal, okay? Gholdengo stops everything, but it's not the only spin blocker in the game, okay? Any ghost type can deal with Torkoal's Rapid Spin. The only problem is the Lava Plume, which, yeah, is an issue for Gholdengo, potentially, but, it's not an issue for Chandelure, or, Dusclops. Nobody's running Dusclops. But it's not an issue for Chandelure, or one of my other guys, who, by the way, also is a counter to Roaring Gouging Fire, who also is a counter to Gouging Fire, that being Ceruledge. Ceruledge, you would already, if you run Ceruledge, you can not only counter Gouging Fire just straight up, okay? The Flash Fire gives you passive immunity to, the Flash Fire gives you complete immunity to fire moves, so it doesn't matter how strong they are, you're just gonna take it. You can Terra to get around Earthquake, but honestly, that's not even really necessary, because, if the thing clicks Earthquake, it's probably not gonna KO you regardless, because Earthquake is just not that strong on it. It's not getting Stab Boost, it's not getting the Terra Boost, it's not getting Sun Boost, any of that, so, who cares? It's still a choice band boosted move off of an attacker, so, it might kill you, but even if it does, then just, you revenge kill it. It's now locked into a move that doesn't deal damage to anything, so, just hit it. If it locks into, the argument for why Ceruledge isn't, and to a lesser extent Heatran, aren't like valid answers to it is like, well, you can click Earthquake and Earthquake still beats those things. And like, sure, I guess that is technically true, but we are talking about a choice band Pokemon here, okay? Like, you have to predict. The only way that Earthquake actually works is if you click Earthquake. But if you click Earthquake and your opponent just doesn't switch to Ceruledge, or does switch to Heatran, but the Heatran has Balloon, or just, switches to anything else that's either immune to them or that's either immune to Earthquake or even not, just like neutral or resistant, with like decent physical bulk, like Earthquake is much more fucking takeable than a fire move because, it's not getting that stab boost. It's much more takeable even than Outrage. It's not a base 120 power move, it's a base 100 power move, which granted is still strong, and it is coming off of a choice band boosted attacker with Photosynthesis attack and Sun, but, that's like a lot of power. It's not like I'm one-shotting things that are supposed to be bulky resists. Okay? It's a coverage move. Don't act like it's going to be picking up random KOs on things that aren't even weak to the move. Okay, and in terms of its ability to, be a reliable way to deal with Ceruledge, yeah, if you could get it off, it would be a way to deal with Ceruledge, but you have to predict the Ceruledge switch. If you don't, and you lock into a fire move, you just get fucked by Ceruledge's Flash Fire as you flail around helplessly doing nothing and either let it set up and sweep you, or let it at least get a, damage, if not a kill. And if you do click on Earthquake, then at worst, your opponent takes 1 KO, and then they, get momentum. Because now you have a move that isn't able to KO at least something on your opponent's team, because there's no way you can convince me that your opponent is running an entire team that gets like 2-hit KO'd by non-stab Earthquake, and that team isn't a bad team. Anyway, the overall point here is that, yes, you can technically use Torkoal sort of to counter Gholdengo in specific. Although, I would posit, no, that's not even reliable because that also requires prediction. Either you click Lava Plume, and if your opponent doesn't go to Gholdengo, then you just didn't Rapid Spin, so you still have to deal with the hazard. Or you click Rapid Spin, in which case, if your opponent did go to Gholdengo, then, they didn't just take damage, and they have the opportunity to, hit you. Lava Plume off of Torkoal, even in Sun, is not like that much damage. I'm pretty sure bulky Gholdengo can take 1 Sun-boosted Lava Plume. One Sun-boosted Lava Plume if you commit to the specially defensive set, which would be an interesting thing. And that, the fact that a specially defensive Gholdengo set could result out of this is so interesting. That's why that's one of the reasons that I don't want Gouging Fire to be banned, because shit like this, where you get like weird situational niches that are like esoterically based on like things that are resultant of the results of certain weaknesses around one Pokemon, like that's a really interesting metagame development. Okay, like I had someone argue that like, well, Ceruledge and Hippowdon aren't relevant as counters to Gouging Fire because Ceruledge and Hippowdon aren't very good. Hippowdon's UU and sees some play in OU, and Ceruledge is borderline, but they're just not very good. And my counter to that is, they counter Gouging Fire, so yes, they are. Like, what makes a Pokemon good is, it's stats and moveset to a certain degree, but it's undeniable that its place in the metagame is largely due to the things around it. The things that it is able to beat. Okay? That is one of, if not the single most important factor in how good a Pokemon is, at least within its own tier. And the thing is, if Gouging Fire is as good as you're saying, and Ceruledge and Hippowdon beat it, that makes them good Pokemon. That's how it works. They are good Pokemon because they beat things that are strong and common. Anyway, this is, so, in conclusion, Gouging Fire is a Pokemon that should not be banned because the only issue is the choice band set, so the bringing up of Dragon Dance or bulky sets is irrelevant, and the choice band set has numerous weaknesses. It is not able to beat things that have flash fire, such as Heat Drain and Cerulege. It is also susceptible to having weather change in its face by like Pelipper or Politoed or Hippowdon, Tyranitar, any of that shit. And the statistic that is consistently brought up, its ability to hit KO Dondozo, is a little bit flawed. It requires the thing to Terra Fire, while also requiring it to, while also requiring the Dondozo to not be running leftovers, or to have taken hazard damage and not be running leftovers and protect. The fact that it has to be Terra Fire in order to do that, also disqualifies the idea that it can terrestrialize in order to deal with other threats like Gliscor or Walking Wake. Furthermore, it is a fire type that is not running heavy-duty boots, ergo, it is very susceptible to Stealth Rocks, which in a heavily Goldengo-leaning metagame, that also likely would see an uptick in Cerulege presence, if Gouging Fire were allowed to continue to exist, would be a significant issue for it, because removing hazards is just not that easy. It is still a strong Pokemon, I don't deny that, but I don't think it's ban-worthy, because I think not just counterplay exists, but counterplay is all around us. There is a lot of counterplay, and I think it would have an overall positive impact on the metagame by fostering creativity and allowing and forcing people to come up with numerous different creative ways to deal with it, which undeniably do exist.